Hello, Adam. It's Robert here.
Hi, Robert.
Sorry I called a little late. I do apologise. It took me a little while to get home.
That's okay, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I scribbled your number down so quickly. I scribbled it down wrongly, so I had to search through the phone for the correct number.
Oh, right.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Well, it's two things really. I'll listen to what you say. I've just cooked myself something to eat, so if you don't mind, I'll just eat while I listen to you. It's the 1919 date that puzzles me. I think I've worked out how it's derived. The claim that Jesus chose the Watchtower Society in 1919. That's the first thing that puzzles me. The second thing will be the New Covenant, because I would believe that I'm in the New Covenant and all Christians are in the New Covenant. So those are the two things that puzzle me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a deep question to answer in just a little brief phone call. As regards to the 1919 date, I think as you've perhaps already done your own research, it's derived from a prophecy in Revelation regarding periods of time that were prophesied. And through priestly research for the scriptures, comparing other accounts of the Bible, we have come to understand that we feel was correct, and hence why we published it on our website and why we followed those understandings as well. 1919 being a date, I don't know if you're aware of the history, that's when the early members of the organisation, which later became Jehovah's Witnesses, were released from prison.
Yes.
And then restarted the activities of my preaching work, which continue up to today.
Could you just say that again, please? You spoke a little quickly. Could you just say that again?
Well, 1919 just represents the day or the year that Jehovah's Witnesses got their freedom and began the preaching work, which we're still famous for today.
Right, okay.
So yeah, we followed that from the prophecies in Revelation, which has symbolic and actual time periods, which we've tried to understand, and looking at the experiences that the Jehovah's Witnesses have been through during the time of World War One. We feel that we've been able to identify 1919 as the time when the preacher work started.
When the what? I didn't catch that. Sorry. When the what?
When Jehovah's Witnesses got their freedom and started the preaching work, the Revelation talks about a period of time when there was inactivity for God's people during the end of World War One. At 1919, we saw that our activity, we had freedom to preach and to complete our ministry, which fits in with what was described in the prophecy of Revelation, hence why we feel that happened in 1919. So we've not determined that date from a literal date in the book of Revelation. It doesn't say 1919, I think perhaps if you're aware. But looking at other Bible prophecies, comparing these together, looking at the experiences that Jehovah's Witnesses have been through, we have come to 1919 as the date mentioned in prophecies of Revelation.
As I understand it, I'm looking at Revelation chapter 11, verse 9.
Yeah, Revelation chapter 11, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and I will cause my two witnesses to prophesy for 1,260 days, dressed in sackcloth. The wild beast that ascendeth out of the abyss will wage war with them and conquer them and kill them. I haven't got my glasses on. That was verse 8. This is verse 9. And those of the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations will look upon their corpses for 3.5 days.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's
right.
verse 10. And after 3.5 days, the Spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood on their feet, and great fear fell upon those who saw them. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the prophecy I'm referring to. And I think what you've looked through watched the article that we published, looking at those scriptures in a bit of detail, looking at those two
Yes, Revelation 11:9, that 1,260 days is taken literally, but of course that is the lunar cycle. That's 42 months of the lunar cycle, not solar cycle. Yes.
Yeah, so we treat that as, we view that as a literal time period from 1914 through to 1918, when we feel the activities of our organisation were limited. And then talk about the two witnesses, which we believe are God's representatives on earth.
Was that the 8 men who were imprisoned, Adam? The two witnesses of the 8 men.
That's right, yeah.
So that's taken spiritually, but the 1,260 days is taken literally.
That's right, yes. And we've come to that understanding based upon our experiences. So we've come to these discernment after the events have happened. So it wasn't before the jury, but it's been after.
Sorry, you're just breaking up a little bit. Can you just say that again, maybe a bit more slowly? You were breaking up a bit. If you could just say that again. I'm trying to follow you, but a bit more slowly. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're taking we base these on experiences of God's people at this time during those events, and that's why we feel that 1919 is the date that the 3.5 days finished. That's based on our experiences, so it's not something we determined in advance of that time. But it's looking back, looking at these prophecies, we feel these are dates that is it's applying to, based upon our experiences.
Well, of course, the Mormons also base things upon their experiences, don't they? I'm speaking to the Mormons at the moment.
Right.
And all they want to do is bear their testimony and tell you about their experiences. Their whole faith is based on their experiences. They don't really respect the Bible. And for myself, I used to be an evangelical Christian. I was started off in a Pentecostal church, Assemblies of God, in London. I then fell away, but I came back and I joined a more extreme Pentecostal group, possibly the most extreme, the Oneness Movement, which is a form of anti-Trinitarian Pentecostalism. I was only in that for 7-8 months, and then I came to the conclusion it was a cult. I left in 1989, 30 years ago now. Well, actually 30 and a half years ago, because I left in early 1989. And I just couldn't settle any church. I tried a few Baptist churches when I moved to a new town in the early 2000s, just to really find out what was actually happening. And I tried a few Baptist churches and Pentecostal churches, even went to an Anglican church. And everything is now based on experience. People have no respect at all for the Bible whatsoever. I call it narcigesis. You know, there's exegesis, where you let the Bible interpret the Bible. There's eisegesis, where you read yourself into the Bible. But these people are narcigesis. It's narcigesis. They actually, they're narcissists who just read themselves into the Bible, and all the Bible is just about them. So, you know, this verse is about Joseph Smith doing that, and this verse is about Joseph Smith doing the other, and this verse is about the Book of Mormon, and this is about the, you know, state of Utah being founded under Brigham Young. You just sort of make it up and read it into the Bible. So I'm not a young man now. I'm nearly 60, and you know, I'm a bit disillusioned. I do have a religious faith, but I don't go anywhere. I'm kind of a bit disillusioned, Adam. Right, so Revelation 11, actually I read the verse wrongly, it's verse 3. I've got various Bible versions here. 11:3. King James, and I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. I think that's correct in saying it's 42 months. Lunar months, yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. The 2 witnesses, would I be correct in assuming that's the 8 watchtower leaders who went to prison?
Not specifically those 8 members. We believe that it represents the group of people that God has asked or appointed to lead the activities of his people today. So during that time, it was the 8 men then. But it's the group, it's the composite group of people at that time those two men, those two witnesses represent.
So it's figurative of a whole group of people.
Yeah, that's what we believe. That's looking
Right.
at parallel accounts, which link it to other parts of the Bible. As a composite group of people, appointed group, which during the course of time, those members, those men would change, but the same goal would always be achieved. That was to lead the activities of his people on earth.
And these people, are they anointed?
We believe so, yes. Hence, that's to be anointed means they take on responsibility of leading the activities of his people today, which is a scriptural term. We call them anointed. Those who will be going to heaven with a heavenly hope.
So these people who are anointed, that would include Pastor Russell. Would that be right? Because you said from 1914 to 1918. Oh, I think there has been a change, but
Yeah, to name somebody, that would be somebody who we understand would be anointed. There's been many others since then, and many before, going back to the first century Christians. So, but yeah, he would be one of those individuals that we believe is of the anointed.
Pastor Russell died in 1916, 3 years before 1919. So he would be one of the anointed before Jesus chose the society, the Watchtower Society in 1919. Am I correct, or have I got the wrong end of the stick?
Yes, we believe that. I think the Bible actually talks about the period of 1940 through to 1990, the period of testing, to see whether these anointed ones were serving God, doing things correctly, the best of their ability. Hence why we view it as a composite group. It's not just one man or a specific group of people. It's a group of individuals who are taking the lead. So though one may die, that's just Brother Russell, as we call him. Those who continue the activities but continue the work. But it's from 1919 that the activities, as Scripture said, God gave power to those two witnesses. They were revived, and the activities were restarted with God's full backing.
Well, I've never been a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not too sure about your beliefs, but from the little I've read, so you're saying that God had an anointed remnant on earth before he chose the Watchtower Society in 1919?
Yeah, so that starts with the apostles. They've been first to be called. Obviously, perhaps it means the Apostle Paul being another one from the first century congregation. We don't know who's been chosen by all names. Obviously, we've got the apostles, individuals that we know today. There may have been others in between those times. Not for us to say or to discredit anyone who claims to be the anointed. It's their actions for the one. It's their actions that will show whether they live up to that calling.
Yes, and the 1,260 days dressed in sackcloth, the 1,260 days is taken literally. Although it applies to lunar months, it's applied to solar. Sorry, 1,260 days is 42 lunar months. That's taken literally, but it's applied to a solar calendar.
Yeah, so we believe that's a literal time period. Again, that's been discerned after the time period has passed, looking at what the early ones who led the work, they experienced a hard time during World War I, where there was a lot of restrictions and a lot of hardship. And then the 3.5 days that followed, we understood it to be a more figurative term, just the comparison being a shorter time to the...
Yes, that's verse 11. I'll go on to that in a moment. But it says that the two witnesses, they're dressed in sackcloth. You don't take that literally.
Not literally, again, just it's figurative. Being sackcloth was something that they was uncomfortable to wear.
Sorry?
Back in the day when that was worn as a sort of a show of oppression and trial. So reflecting the hardship that these ones would undergo during that time period.
Okay. And verse 7, I'll read it in the King James, Revelation 11:7. And when they have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. So the beast that comes out of the bottomless pit, that's Apollyon in Revelation 9. I do know my book of Revelation fairly well. He overcomes these two witnesses who are really a group of people, and it says he kills them. Does he literally kill them, or is it just sort of oppression? I think it probably means... Well, I'll leave that to you. I'm not going to guess, because I'll probably guess wrong.
Well, again, we it's a symbolic thing. The death being more of the activities of this one, sort of the death of activity, when it would appear that the two witnesses have died and that there's no further activity being commenced. There's no preaching work, there's no teaching work. But for the two witnesses then being regaining power later.
Sorry, I don't follow, Adam. Sorry, you have to start over. I'll read the verse again. I'll read the verse again. And when they have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. So it does say that the beast comes up out of the bottomless pit, of an obvious reference to Revelation chapter 9, where we have Apollyon coming up out of the bottomless pit. He wages war against these anointed, he conquers them and he kills them. So could you help with that?
Well, we believe this is when the two witnesses representing those taking the lead of God's people, they experienced a figurative death in that all activities ceased. So there was no activity. If you look back to the early history of Jehovah's Witnesses, between 1918 and 1919,
yes,
there was no activity, there was no ministry, because those who took the lead were in prison. So a figurative death, as it were.
So when it says he ascends out of the abyss, you don't take that literally, or do you take it literally? Because clearly to me that's a reference to Apollyon, who comes up out of the abyss in Revelation chapter 9.
So let me just bring that up.
Thanks for your help, by the way. I know this is difficult, and I do appreciate it. Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath the name Apollyon. So I would see it as an obvious reference to Apollyon, a name for the devil who comes up out of the bottomless pit, and he says he conquers them and he kills them.
I would have to remind myself, I'm looking at the passage right now, I would have to remind myself of as you commented on these are things of Revelation, and I don't hold this in my memory fresh.
Okay, Adam.
These are things I've considered in the past, but I would have to remind myself.
Yeah, can I tell you what I think about this?
If you like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can apply this to themselves. I mean, Jimmy Swaggart could apply this to himself. When I came out of or was involved in the oneness group 30 years ago, there was a huge TV scandal where the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart, a famous American TV preacher, was filmed visiting his hooker friend and paying for services rendered. Now, his preaching stopped, he was supposed to stop for quite some time, but he stopped for about 6 months. And then he started preaching again because he just couldn't resist the draw of telling all those people to send him money, and if they send him money, they get their blessings. So why can't we apply this to Jimmy Swaggart? Why can't we say, I will cause my two witnesses to prophesy? That's Jimmy Swaggart. We'll just take it spiritually. For 1,260 days, well, we'll take that spiritually. He was probably told not to preach for a couple of years, so we can say he was, but he did preach after 6 months. He was back on TV asking for money. Dressed in sackcloth means that he was repentant. And the wild beast that sends out of the abyss, well, we can take that spiritually to refer to newspapers and the television companies. We'll wage war with them and conquer them and kill them. Well, Jimmy Swaggart was spiritually killed. Do you see what I mean?
No,
Any group can apply this to themselves. The Way International can say this is applicable to Victor Paul Werwell, the founder of the Way International. I know he's dead now, but as a kid I used to practice transcendental meditation. The founder of TM, or Transcendental Meditation, is the Maharishi. I was a Beatles fan as a kid, so that's how I got roped in and involved in transcendental meditation. And my mother had to sign a waiver because I was below the age of 18. She had to summon a special form to allow me to do TM or transcendental meditation. Well, look, the Beatles joined TM in 1967, but in 1968 they fell away, bringing scandal upon the group because the Maharishi was said to have been very amorous with Mia Farrow, a very attractive young actress, and his intentions towards Mia Farrow weren't spiritual. So we could apply this to the Maharishi, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think if you took a few verses from any book of the Bible,
Yeah.
you could apply it to literally anybody, past and present. I think the integrity behind it is just to consider the entire Bible as a whole and look at all these various references to a group of people that God would appoint to direct his work. Jesus spoke of a faithful and discreet slave. Numerous times there is discussion of those who take the lead.
By those who take the lead, you mean the 8 men who went to prison?
At that time, yeah, those who represent that group of people. Jesus spoke of...
Right, so the ones who took the lead... Sorry, I interrupted you. I beg your pardon, Adam. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, so it's looking at all the references to a group that God would appoint to lead his people and to direct their activities, looking at all of those references, looking at how God described them, how they would be appointed, what he expected of them, what they would accomplish. Just looking at all of that. It's almost like a CV, comparing all of what they've done and what they need to do. So, and that's how we have come to understand that particular aspect of the Revelation prophecy is by comparing to other references that Jesus made and the Apostle Paul made to what these ones would do.
In the Revelation book, the wild beast is described as the United Nations. So when Revelation 11 verse 7 says the wild beast that ascends out of the abyss will wage war with them and conquer them and kill them, do you apply this in some way to the United Nations?
For the wild beast, there is in the book of Revelation, our understanding is there is a wild beast. There's also an image of a wild beast. There's more than one beast in the book of Revelation, and you are right, one of those beasts we feel does apply to the United Nations or the League of Nations initially before it changed its name when it's reformed. Other instances in the book of Revelation we feel applies directly to Satan himself and to his organisation, to his want to follow his demons. Depends on context.
Yes.
That's how we come to understand the differences of the symbolic story.
Would you agree that the wild beast that ascends out of the abyss clearly is a reference to Revelation 9:11 to Apollyon who comes up out of the bottomless pit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's referring to Satan himself. The United Nations is another wild beast mentioned in the book of Revelation. In this instance, we're talking about Satan himself directly targeting this group of people himself. Obviously, during World War One, there was no League of Nations, there was United Nations, so it can't refer to that beast, but rather to Satan himself and his activities.
I don't believe the wild beast is the United Nations, but I just pointed that out because I've been reading your red book of Revelation, the grand climax, it is at hand.
Yep.
And round about, I can't remember the exact page number, 254 or 255, somewhere around there, there's a chapter on the UN, and it says the United Nations is the wild beast, so I just wanted to ask you your opinion of that. I think we agree that the one that ascends out of the bottomless pit, which I feel is the biblical answer, is Apollyon, the name for the devil from the bottomless pit. Yeah. But do you have the Insight book? Insight on the Scriptures?
I do have an Insight book, not at hand. I do have that, which I use as a reference source for my studies.
It says in Volume 1, under Apollyon, which is page 126, that Jesus Christ is Apollyon, who ascends out of the bottomless pit.
This is the danger of me not having my memory
Well, I tell you what, Adam. If you've got my number, we can always speak again some other time. You can maybe jot down that reference, Insight Book, Volume 1, page 126, and we can speak again in a week or two.
Well, I mean, what we try to do as Jehovah's Witnesses, we don't tend to do things across phone. You expect to do things in person, hence why we go to door-to-door ministry and we do the trolley, the part of what we do in public. We prefer face-to-face communication, it's usually easier. I mean, I'm assuming, do you live in Newquay?
Sorry?
Do you live in Newquay South, do you?
I beg your pardon, can you say that again? You're a bit hard to hear at times.
Do you live in Newquay?
I live not too far away,
Okay.
but I'm reluctant to have people come to my house. I might be willing to speak on sort of neutral ground. I am a former evangelical Christian, and I've been hurt very, very badly by these wicked people. And whilst I do retain a belief in God, I don't want people coming to my house, and I don't attend any religious meetings.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. Could I just go on through Revelation 11, just do the other two verses and give you my thoughts on those, if that's possible?
If you'd like to, yeah.
Yeah, Revelation chapter 11, verse 9. I've got three versions in front of me, so I get a bit mixed up, and I hope I haven't got them wrong. And they of the people and the kindreds and the tongues and the nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in the grave. Revelation 11:9. That's King James. A more modern version is, and those of the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations will look at their corpses for 3.5 days. Now, as I understand it from the literature, you take the 3.5 days spiritually to refer to 9 months, or at least you used to, from 1918, when the 8 men went to prison, to March 1919, when they were released from prison.
So, yeah, we don't view it as a literal time period, but more of a, with 3.5 days being shorter, considerably shorter than the 1,260 days, we have viewed it as a symbolic, indicative, just representing just a short period of time.
Yes.
Again, that's been taken from basically the imprisonment of those 8 men referred to. We've applied that to that time period.
So at the carts, I've been told to go to the Watchtower, 15th of November 2014, page 30, which says, how long did this inspection and cleansing take place? It extended from 1914 to the early part of 1919. This period of time includes both the 1,260 days, brackets 42 months, and the symbolic 3.5 days referred to in Revelation chapter 11. So I think the period from 2014 to 2019 is made out of the 1,260 days, which are lunar days, lunar months, 42 lunar months, but that's applied to the solar calendar. And then you have 3.5 days, which is taken spiritually.
Yeah,
I think I've got that right. That's taken
right.
spiritually to be 9 months.
Yeah, so 9 months, that's our understanding. That's, as I said, that's as a result of us reviewing this prophecy.
Yes.
After the events have unfolded, and we feel this is applied to the activity and what the early Jehovah's Witnesses, or Bible students as they were then called, what they went through during that time period.
Yes. I was told at the cart that there has been an adjustment from the Revelation book that, let me see, I've just looked at my notes, Watchtower, July the 15th, 2013, page 14, the end note, paragraph 6, says, this is an adjustment in understanding. Previously, we thought that Jesus' inspection took place in 1918. So they've made a change. Now the inspection starts in 1914 and ends in 1919. But at the time of the Revelation book, it started in 1918 and finished 9 months later in 1919. Have I got that right?
Yeah, so there was a recent clarification in our understanding.
Yeah.
I should appreciate we're always trying to refine what we understand, not necessarily we've always got it correct.
Yes.
So if we do feel there's an understanding, a correction,
Yes.
that's usually come as a result of us considering other accounts in the Bible.
Yes.
And by comparing two accounts, we think, we need to clarify this a bit further. It doesn't quite agree with another passage in the Bible. Then we'll refine our understanding, and that was an example of that.
I've just found the quote. It's the same Watchtower, July the 15th, 2013, but this is page 11. To settle that question, Jesus began to inspect the spiritual temple in 1914. That inspection and cleansing work involved a period of time, from 1914 to the early part of 1919.
Yeah. So that's part of our clarification to try to understand the events back then more clearly. Again, I don't have this in front of me, so I'm not.
No. Well, I'm partly working from memory, because if my memory serves me right, the Revelation book, and I think it's page 184, but I could be wrong, it talks about another period of 1,260 days from March 1919 to the Cedar Point Convention in 1922, which was the first of the 7 trumpets of the book of Revelation.
Okay. I will be honest, I can't recall to mind that period of accounts. It's something I would have to refresh myself.
Yeah.
I don't profess to be a walking encyclopedia. I really wish I was.
No. Well, you can always get back to me, Adam. That's absolutely fine. We can finish shortly, and you can get back to me. But as far as I understand, the second, because you see, one of 1,260 days is half of 2,520, isn't it?
Yeah, based on that. Yeah.
So the first 1,260 days is from December 1914, I think, to June 1918, when the 8 officers of the Watchtower Society were put in prison. That's taken literally. Then you have the 3.5 days, which isn't 3.5 days because it's taken spiritually to mean 9 months.
Yeah.
That takes you to March 1919, when the 8 officers of the Watchtower Society were released from prison.
Yes, let me believe that period finished when they were released and the activities were resumed.
And then you have, obviously, if you have one period of 1,260 days, there must be another one to balance out. Yeah, because 1,260 days times 2 is the figure 2,520.
Yeah, well, that'd be the maths. I'll be frankly honest, if I said anything now, I couldn't guarantee it was accurate, because I don't have it in front of me, and I don't want to give any leading what I believe.
From the research I've done, and I can't find my Red Revelation book. I've got Bibles and things, but I can't find the Revelation book. You count 1,260 literal days. Again, it's a lunar calendar, but it's applied to a solar calendar. And that takes you from the release of the Watchtower officers in March 1919 to the Cedar Point Convention in Ohio, which is the first of the 7 trumpets of the book of Revelation. So where the book of Revelation talks about, 7 vials, 7 bowls, 7 trumpets, the 7 trumpets, they say, were fulfilled in the 1920s in these 7 district conventions, from Cedar Point in 1922 to Detroit, Michigan in 1928. Now remember, that is page 172 to page 173 of the Red Revelation book. You've got a pen handy, you might like to copy that down. That I would have a lot of trouble with.
Okay.
But I can see the logic. They apply one period of 1,260 days before 1919 and the other one after. And the reason that they have to apply them both is they believe the 7 times of Daniel is 7 times 360. The lunar year is 360 days in a year. The solar year is 364 and a quarter days. So they take 7 times 360, and that's 2,520. This just to finish up with, and I've taken up enough of your time, and I'm grateful. Let me just read that 2013 15th of July Watchtower again, page 11. To settle that question, Jesus began to inspect the spiritual temple in 1914. That inspection and cleansing work involved a period of time from 1914 to the part of 1919. Now, what is the inspection and the cleansing work?
So we have produced literature on this to explain the application. Again, I'd want to review
Yeah. Okay.
what we published before on the same thing, because I want to make sure that, although these are things that I've come to understand and accepted myself, to convey it accurately, I need to make sure I'm fully refreshed in my memory.
Okay, Adam. Thank you very much for your time. And maybe the next time, maybe we could meet up in person, or something like that, if that's more convenient.
Yeah, obviously, feel free to purchase on the trolleys. I think we're in Newquay. I'm usually on a Friday afternoon. I'm in Newquay on the trolleys doing that work.
Oh, about what sort of time? I could try and...
Between 2 to 3 o'clock is when I have out on that work.
3 o'clock on a Friday in Newquay. Okay. Well, if I'm up and about and I'm busy, but if I'm free, I'll try and make it there. But I'll leave you to get back in contact with me, Adam.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
And thank you for your time.
Okay, and maybe we'll see you sometime.
Yes. Okay. All the best.
Bye bye then.
Bye.